I was at the Galaxy Academy for 3 years. My life just revolved around the Galaxy Academy.
Yeah.
Like I would, 3:45, I'd get picked up. Get to the field by like 4:30, train for 2 hours, get dropped off at my grandma's hospital. Around 10 o'clock, we would take the bus back home. That was 4 times a week for 2 years straight.
Did you know at the time, like, how big of a deal it was to be, like, on the Galaxy
I
Academy?
think it never really hit me until I was told I was gonna get cut. I went to practice on my birthday, and that same day, my coach Braden, he pulled me aside and he told me like I was gonna get cut if I didn't like start to improve.
The fact that everything was going through you, I can't expect to say that you need to improve or else you're gonna get cut.
Right.
For him to actually go home and make some like changes in his life, you know? So then leading up to your last year at Galaxy, what happened?
I saw it coming as soon as Chivas USA Academy transitioned to the Galaxy Academy. I'm glad I got cut. I'm glad I went to Slammers. I'm glad whatever route I have taken so far, it's all for a reason.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. It's only me as the host today. My brother's still feeling sick. We got another guest. This time, he's part of the Without a Doubt team. I've known this guy since I was in third grade. Third grade.
Yeah.
So he's been a friend for the longest time. Miguel Pena.
So guys.
All right, Pena. To start us off, do you remember your first pair of boots?
I do actually.
Okay.
It's kind of weird where I got them though. It's not like where
What do
you
you
would
mean?
think. I don't
Okay.
know. So when I was young, I used to go to the soup kitchen on 19th Street, and yeah, it's kind of like I said, it's kind of
Soup
weird.
kitchen?
The soup kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, you know, on 19th Street, right in front of Smart
Yeah.
Vinyl. Yeah.
It's still there?
I don't know, to
Okay.
be honest, but they would have like clothes set out for like when you leave after you eat. Like there's like used clothes and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And right under, a week before I like played on my very first team, is where I found a pair of Copas.
Copas?
And those were my first pair of cleats.
That's
That's crazy, huh? Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird, bro. But yeah, that's my first pair of cleats. I remember vividly. It was like days before I ever like went on my first team.
Yeah. And then you would those are the only cleats you used?
For like 2 weeks, and then they
That's
ripped.
all it lasted?
Yeah.
2 weeks?
Only 2 weeks. Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
I'm not gonna top that story. I think I got mine at the swap meet. They're I don't think these were my very first. No, actually, okay. I remember my very, very first cleats. And I don't know where I got them. I think my sister might have got them like from Mexico or the swap meet. Either one, same thing actually. Just kidding. But they're Mexico shoes. So they're like
Mexico shoes?
like they're no brand. There's no like Nike or anything. They're just shoes or cleats, and then it was the Mexican flag on it.
No.
Yeah.
Were they like chunky?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
They weren't meant to be soccer shoes.
They weren't ACC?
No, no, definitely not ACC. But and then I remember I had after that, like growing like these weren't like the second pair of shoes, but they were like what I remember using in like for my or AYSO. Were the Dino Tiempos.
Oh yeah.
Those.
With like the tongue out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I had the brown ones, the brown and gold ones, and my brother had the black and gold ones.
Did you ever have like the maroon color ones?
Yeah, no, I never had them, but I've seen
sick,
those.
yeah.
Yeah, those are sick. But yeah, so I had the Dino cleats. All right, let's get into your story, dude. So before I even let's start from before I even meet you. Okay. So where'd you grow up?
Where I grew up. So I was born and raised I was born here and then raised in Atlanta for roughly around like 8 years. Towards the end of when I was like 6, 7, and 8 years old, I started coming to California a couple times, more often. And I actually would fly by myself. Like my mom in Atlanta would fly me out to visit my grandma. Yeah, she would like.
You were 6 years old flying by yourself to California from Atlanta?
Yes. And so what would they? They would just sit me with like 2 ladies that were like older, obviously.
Did you know them?
No, they would just place me in like the middle of like 2 elderly women for like just to keep an eye on me or whatever. But I had like free anything. Like I remember getting like whatever I wanted on the plane. It was weird. But I did that like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it was weird. But
What the hell?
so then when I was 8 years old is when I came to California.
Wait, so why would you come to California?
Just to visit.
To visit your grandma, you said?
Yeah, to visit my grandma. And then at the time, it was like my aunt, my cousins and stuff, they would all live at my grandma's house.
Okay.
And then eventually when I was 8 years old, that's when I like stayed. I ended up staying, basically.
Okay, so before that, were you playing?
No, when I was in Atlanta, I mean, I don't really remember a lot. All I remember was like going to Chuck E. Cheese all the time for some reason.
Yeah.
And then, but as far as like playing soccer, I think the most was like just in my garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just messing around.
Messing around. Yeah, just kicking the ball. But
Okay,
that's kind of like where I found out. I was like, oh, I kind of like this. you
Yeah.
know?
Okay.
So,
Okay, so you didn't start like actually playing until you got here?
yeah, until I got
Oh, okay.
here.
So you got here when you were 8.
Yeah, like 7, 8 years old. I'd
Okay.
say 7, but apparently it was 8.
Yeah.
Would you say 8?
Okay.
Yeah.
So 8, and then you're living with your grandma.
Yeah, I live with my grandma.
Is there any reason why you had to move to California?
Yeah, so originally it was said.
Uh.
I didn't know how to speak English.
It
So
was said.
it
This
was-
is what like your grandma told you.
Yeah, this is my mom, my grandma, that's
Yeah.
what they say. And all I knew was Spanish. And so they were sending me over here to like learn English or whatever. And so basically I came here when I was like in 1st grade. And so transitioning here was a little hard just because like, again, I was struggling with like speaking English. It was like Spanish was my first language. That's all we spoke. And so like coming over here, that was like kind of the main reasons was to like learn how to speak English because I guess I was terrible. It's weird. Yeah.
Okay.
But then again, I don't remember ever being in speech classes or like
Yeah.
or anything like that.
No, when
I think
met
they
you,
just got it down really quick.
Yeah, because I met you 2 years after that, and I didn't think
Exactly.
you weren't in. Yeah.
That's what I said. That's what they say.
Yeah. Oh, you're
Who
in.
knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So then you're here, and then how long from when you're here? So you got here at 8. How long afterward did you start playing or start getting, or got in your first team and stuff?
Dude, right away.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, like not on a team or not necessarily like on a team right away, but where I live, there was like a little alley that I'd see some kid play all the time. And he ended up being one of my best friends eventually. But I just started playing with him, and eventually I kind of got to know him and stuff. And then obviously I ended up realizing he was like my neighbor. And then I knew he played on a team, just like California League, not AY. So, and at the time I didn't know anything. I just knew that I wanted to play. And so then I was like, so my friend's dad basically convinced my grandma to let me stay because she was going to send me back.
Oh, she was.
She was going to send me back. And so he had to like tell her like, oh, let him stay.
Okay, so how long since you, from 8 to then the idea of you getting sent back? Like how long were you there? Like
Just,
a year?
I mean,
Or-
no, like I was only there to like visit,
Oh, okay.
right? Because I'm doing this whole 6, 7, 8 years old, maybe just 7 and 8 years old. I've gone
Yeah.
once, came back, gone again.
Yeah.
But this time I was like supposed to go back, but I ended up staying.
I would imagine it was probably like already like pre-planned. No, don't you think? Of you staying, and you probably thought you were gonna go, but they already probably had an idea that you were gonna stay.
I honestly don't think so. I think that I was originally set to leave, but because I started, like saying I want to play, and like I was like really playing. Like I don't know how long I was there for when I was visiting, but somehow we got my grandma to be convinced to like let me stay.
But then why was your mom cool with you staying?
Because honestly, I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even tell you. Yeah. But I knew that, as a kid, you see things, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I know that what I was experiencing in Atlanta is not what I wanted,
All right. Okay.
right? It wasn't something that I was like looking forward to going back to.
Okay.
And so the idea of playing soccer here and staying and like trying to find, like, tell my friend to tell his dad to tell my grandma, let me stay and play. It was like the only thing I saw the only realistic thing I saw happening for me if I didn't want to go back.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I think just knowing that, I think in the back of my head, I was just really glad that my grandma said yes to that. Yeah, agreed to it, basically.
Okay. So then you stay officially after
So then
that.
I said
Oh,
officially.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was already like pre-planned. Like, okay, you're gonna stay at.
No,
now
no,
you're
no.
staying here. No, it
It
was
was
like you're
like-
gonna go back home.
Yeah,
and then
literally, like
okay.
convincing. Like my friend's dad came over and like was convincing my grandma, and my grandma's like, once she says something, it's kind of that's a done deal. So my chances weren't, obviously I didn't really know my grandma so much as I do now.
Yeah.
But I knew that she was strict. That's all I knew. But
Yeah. Okay.
she agreed. So
Oh. Okay. So then you start playing with your neighbor. You guys are on like a Sunday league team.
Sunday league, yeah. Sunday league, and then California league, basically.
And then, so how was it like adapting from like being that young, having lived in Atlanta, and then coming here? How was it? And then pretty much on your own. You're not with your like. You're with family, but you're not with the family that you grew up with. So like, how was that transition?
I think the transition was pretty easy, just because I had soccer.
Oh,
I think before coming to California, I had kind of realized, oh, I like this. Like this is something I like to do. Like I just would do it by myself, out in Atlanta. And so transitioning here, I think was just soccer was just always on my mind. And so I didn't really process the fact that I wasn't gonna go see my mom anymore.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna live in Atlanta. I was gonna start a new life. I think I was just too young for it. And so I was just going through the motions, and I just knew I was gonna play on the team.
Yeah.
And so then afterwards, as parents, they do all the transitioning to like elementary schools and stuff like that.
Okay. So then, so you were just kind of like, weren't really aware of what was going on.
No.
Just really, but so at that age, you're saying that you're like super focused on soccer. So did you just find the love for soccer right away? Like it was like
right away. Because I don't think I was like, I didn't know the sport as much as I do now.
Yeah.
I just knew I liked playing.
Yeah.
So like I was like, I think right away I just fell in love, I guess.
Okay. And then so from there, after like you're playing in Sunday league, how did your career progress from that?
A little weird. I think I was like 8 years old. So I think they were playing U10. And so I came in. I was a little kid. I thought these kids were so big. I was super young. So then I just played Sunday league basically for like 2 years, and then like his dad would be the one that would give me rides and all that stuff. But on occasions, like I was getting the bus to McFadden Middle School or some, just random schools that they would host the Sunday league games at. And so it was either the bus or like my friend's dad.
Yeah. Okay, so you're at that age, you're like 10?
I'm 10. Yeah.
And you're taking the bus?
With my aunt.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't mention this. No. So my grandma lives at her house, and then it was like my aunt, which is like a mother figure to me. My grandma was like my dad figure, and so then I also have my step grandpa in a way, and then like uncle. It was a big family basically. A lot of people living in the house, and the one that was like basically taking care of me most of the day was my aunt, and so she was in charge of taking me to the games and stuff.
Well, if you want to explain it, because I know what was the, like you said, you had a big family. Where were you guys staying? Like how many people in how big of an apartment?
Damn. I mean, 2-bedroom apartment. My grandma's been there since she came to the States, so it was like it's been like 27 years now, 26 years that she's been at that same house. And at one point, like it was me, my aunt, my grandma, my stepdad, my uncle, my older sister that lived with me, and like another family with like
another family.
Yes. So at one point there was like 12, 13 people living in the same household. And then we had curtains in like the living room where like it would separate the living room so that they can sleep, and have curtains to have like their own privacy.
Yeah.
And then everyone else would,
Wow. Okay.
So it was packed.
One bathroom?
One bathroom.
13 people, one bathroom?
Yeah.
What?
Crazy. Yeah, crazy.
And okay, wow. And how long did you live like that for?
I can't really remember how long it was, but It was for a while. I know, because at that time it was like my aunt, my aunt Reina is her name, and she had like 5 kids at the time.
Oh.
And so they were all kind of like with us, living with us, with the husband. You know, they were all there. Plus me, my cousin Brittany that we can get into later, my aunt, my older sister, my grandpa, my uncle Danny, just all of us in that house as a family. You know, like we made it work. Dude.
Yeah.
Like
no, for sure.
No one, you know, no one was left out at all. Like we always like made everything work.
Yeah.
And 1 bathroom.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
That's just what we had to do. That's just the circumstances, I guess.
Wow. Okay. So then I can imagine playing was like an escape for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into that. So, when do you like join your first like club team?
So I think I was like 11 or 12 years old when I first like started to like drift away from California League and like basically attach myself to like another friend of mine that was on the team that was playing somewhat of club. And so from there, I ended up going with him and like it worked out, but I guess the team was going to England or something on a trip, and my family wasn't a fan of that. I was too young or whatever. It was like my first like, you know, so I think 11, 12 years old. I think it was a Santa Ana soccer club or something like that.
Oh.
It was like I don't know if it was big, but at the time they were like super good.
Yeah.
And so I went with like a buddy that played on the California team. And again, like it didn't work out. So then I kind of just drifted back to California League for like, just for fun, you know, playing with, and then eventually is when I found New Promesa Soccer Club.
Okay, so then this is like now like towards the age where we meet each other. Yeah, because we met each other in 3rd grade. So how old are we?
10?
Yeah, around that age then. Yeah.
10, 11.
Okay, so let's actually like. For other people, we probably would never dive deep into their elementary career.
Oh
but
my
let's
God.
Let's talk about our elementary experience.
Wow.
Okay, so I don't remember exactly how we met. I think it was just in class or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
And we had the common interest in soccer, so automatically we're already gonna be connected through that.
Yeah.
But I'll let you explain it through your perspective.
You sure?
What was what was the dynamic between us?
Dude.
Started all of elementary school.
It was like the weirdest like love-hate relationship ever.
Yeah.
Because like with whatever I'm about to say, I still considered you like a homie.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like you said, I think it was in class or something, 3rd grade or whatever. But I think we would mainly meet on the field.
Yeah.
It was like our thing. And so, you know, being in elementary, I think we kind of got the rep of being like the better ones at soccer.
Yeah.
In the school.
Right.
At the time, that was like cool or whatever.
Right.
And dude, I think I can like honestly say that you were like a bully to me. It's weird to say, but it was like, it was weird. Like I wasn't, obviously now I would stand up to that, you know, if that was happening.
Right.
But as a kid, I think I was so scared. I was so like, I didn't know how to like address it without like, you know, making you think, oh, I'm like a little wimp for standing up for myself.
Right.
You know, at that age, and I'm just like going through that. I'm like, what's going on, you know? But at the end of the day, I just knew that you were first captain, I was second captain.
Yeah.
You know, that was like everyday routine.
Right.
And so, just like throughout the years, I think it almost like progressed as it kept going into like 5th grade, 6th grade.
Yeah.
But it was weird. But then like somehow we would still connect in a way.
When we first met each other, it was like we were connected because we played soccer. And it was like I liked you and I liked talking to you and I liked hanging out with you. I liked playing and all this stuff, right? But then it turned into like a rivalry, but not because we decided to.
No.
at least in my mind, it was like everybody around us wanted us to be like, we could never, like, I remember when it was like, when we'd make teams, it's like, no, Miguel and Rafa can't be on the same team.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah, wow.
And then there was like people not allowing us to be on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, so then, okay, we're both team captains. All right, let's pick our teams. And then it was like that, that just competitive, like, nature in me where it's like, I need to win. I need to win. I need to show everybody that I am better than Miguel. And like that was like, and then you were just more like, dude, I want to like, let's just play,
Yeah,
bro.
let's
What's
just
up
play.
with you?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But that was just how I was. Like I am still very competitive now, but it's just more of like, it's more controlled. It's more like, and like I started to learn to do that in like middle school a little bit more.
Yeah,
But like on
sure.
elementary school, it was just more of like very like childish competition,
Right.
you know, like in the smallest thing, like when we run the mile in PE, I was trying so hard. I was like, I got to be first place because Miguel
That's
can't
funny.
beat me,
Yeah.
you know. And it's just like,
And I was fast too for some reason.
yeah, it was just like
Yeah.
it like. I mean, it helps in the sense where it's like I like always having that someone there like to like really push you and compete against is like it helps you get better for sure. And like I'm very grateful for that because it definitely like pushed me where like
Yeah.
I need to be like
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
Because if I slack off, like Miguel's got me. Like we're pretty much the same. Like
And it's weird that you're saying that because like us not knowing this, like obviously when we were in elementary, we didn't know we were gonna start without a doubt. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
This whole process of creating something that's bigger than us.
Yeah.
And looking back at it, like you're right, like that was something that you always kept me pushing.
Yeah.
I kept you pushing.
Right.
And so it's crazy.
Yeah,
to think
no.
that.
Yeah, and so like again, like my childish, like just me being super childish at the time is like it was no longer competitive in certain moments. It was more of like, yeah, like being a bully, bro. And like yeah, we say it jokingly and stuff because it's funny to think about, like
looking back,
the fact of like
it's
how
crazy.
close we are now and like how in elementary school like I was just like that. But it was just because and it says a lot about me at the time where it's like you could tell it was like it was I was acting on insecurity where I was like I didn't want someone being better than me. I didn't want other people to think this guy was better than me. You know, that kind of thing at the time. So like now I know that I can build everyone up. I want to build everyone up around me. I think there's enough room for everyone to win.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Back then it was like I need to tear this guy's tower down.
Yeah.
Because I don't want his tower to be bigger than mine. You know, that kind of thing. So that was like my mindset. But again, I feel like it was never that when I met you. It was that when everybody else started saying like, no, they can't be on the same team.
It like slowly progressed into
Yeah.
that because at first it was like I felt like I was very like I was able to get along with you very well.
Yeah.
And as we kept playing, as people noticed, like, oh, these guys are the better ones, and so that rivalry I think came from like everyone else.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like dictated your view
actions.
on it. Yeah, your actions. and
Dude,
stuff.
no, I was straight up, dude. I was.
I think I only snitched on you once. And I remember when it was actually. I think you were running for president for 6th grade. And for some reason you thought it was funny to take my shoes off.
No, I don't know why.
Somehow. And you know who else was in that? Chris Ramirez.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out Chris. He also took my shoes off. Though. He helped.
Shout out
me.
Chris for helping me take a shoe off.
But yeah, that was the only time. And then I remember
think we were
you
playing-
couldn't play at lunch or something.
Dude, I think we were playing like a game, like what were they called, clown or something? It's like tag or whatever. And dude, and I think like I tackled you, and then I saw the moment to take your shoe off, so I thought it was funny to just take your shoe off. That's straight bullying, bro. That was messed up.
Yeah.
And then
That was like the only time I was like put my foot down.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, you told the teacher on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was. I've been trying to find a different word to say, but
You know
I was
what's
I was a
crazy,
dick,
though?
dude. Huh?
When I did that, I felt bad.
You feel bad?
Yeah, for you. I was like, damn, I shouldn't have snitched. Like, for some reason, like, I looked past it. Like, I was just like, in the moment, I was like, it's too many times, bro.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, screw it, I'm gonna tell. I think I told Miss Tessa or something. I don't know if you remember her.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was like the only time. And for some reason, I still felt like, damn, like, I'm sorry. Like, my bad. Because I saw you, like, sitting at the tables at lunch and then we were playing and stuff. But because you were still, like, a homie, it was just like the soccer thing, it just built some type of rivalry. But yeah, I still felt like bad for you.
Yeah, but I feel like even like the teachers knew how like we were still like friends. So I even know that the teachers didn't even give me that bad of a punishment because they knew like, oh, they're just friends. They got like
yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I should have been put in my place like during that time. But again, I grew up a little bit. Middle school comes, and I remember very vividly what I was doing. We just moved into like a new apartment. I was hanging out in my my room with my brother. And I get a phone call. And I get a phone call from this like, wait, was this middle school? No, it has to be like a little
that's
later.
like going into freshman year of high school.
Going into okay. So we can backtrack after this.
Yeah.
We can backtrack after this. But I remember, because it was summer. Yeah, it was the summer going into this, and it was hot. I remember it. And I get a phone call from this random number. And I'm like, who the hell? Like, what is this? And it was like a crazy
number.
Crazy number too.
It was
the
fake?
area code was
Yeah.
Dude, I think it was like one of those Mexico numbers, but it's just way too long.
It's like extra digits.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? So I answered, being like super curious. And it was you. And I was like, what? I was so confused. And then you start asking me like if you can come and try out or for my club team.
Yeah.
Which is Newport Mesa at the time. And I was like confused and because I knew you're playing with Galaxy. And then you start kind of giving me a little bit of debrief on what happened, what's going on. And I was like, dude, I was ecstatic. I was like, yeah, dude, like I'm calling my coach right now. We're getting that like sorted 100%, dude. Like, don't worry about it. You're on the team already.
Yeah.
You know? And I called my coach and I told him, like, look, he played for the Galaxy Academy. He's legit. I've known him for a long time. Like, and then he was just like, yeah, bring him.
Yeah.
Like, bring him. Like, next practice, he's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, before, like, leading up to that, I remember 6th grade. Were you already on Galaxy in 6th grade? Because I remember when we were playing Pilot Cup, I was at Newport Mesa still.
Yeah.
And then you were playing somewhere.
So, just backtrack a little bit. I think it was 6th grade when I joined Newport Mesa with a friend.
Right.
With my friend Danny. And so he was already on Newport Mesa.
Oh, I remember this now.
Yeah. So then he brings me out, Bonita Canyon actually.
Yeah.
And we're training whatever. But I realized that this team is like, it's like towards the end of the season, and they only have a state cup coming up. That's it. And so then I'm like, well, okay, cool. So basically, they signed me up, and I'm playing for Newport Mesa now. And I'm going. The first game I play is like state cup. So I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm going to Lancaster.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those drives are insane. But I'm going to Lancaster, and I'm going to go play. And it's like my first like real like competitive like, soccer.
Right.
Apart from like California League or whatever. And we fell short against Albion somehow. But within that time being there, like a month, 2 months maybe, our coach at the time, Chris Klein, was the vice president of Galaxy.
Yeah.
And actually, when I first came out, Jerry was the coach that was filling in for him because he was out of town.
Oh, wow.
And so then we went to State Cup with Chris Klein. And then when we were done, basically when we got like knocked out of the group stage or whatever, Chris Klein, he brought everyone together and announced that he was not going to be coach anymore and that he was going to take the position of being the president of LA Galaxy.
Wow. Yeah.
And so we're like, obviously I didn't care. I was just like, I don't know, this guy. I think everyone grew up playing together.
Yeah.
And so then that happened. And so then as we're walking away, my friend Danny, his dad was like talking to me and our coach. And the coach told him that me and Danny were going to have a good chance of being on a different team in a couple, and I don't know when it was, the transition, but that we were going to play on a possibility of playing on the Galaxy Academy.
Wow.
And obviously, I'm coming from California League to like 1 month in club, technically 2 months, whatever, State Cup. and then I'm like transitioning to like academy.
Academy.
I don't really know what's going on. I'm just going with the flow.
That's crazy.
I'm getting picked up by my friend Danny. His dad's like picking me up and stuff. And around that time comes, I don't know, when August or whatever, and we pull up to Concordia, and we missed like the first day of tryout. Apparently, it was on Monday, and so we came on Tuesday, but we had a spot on the team, and so it was like the weirdest. Like I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. All I know is that once I got on that field, and I saw everyone like dressed in like the Galaxy uniform and like these kids that were training with us, I thought they were like so good, so good. And that was like my transition to the Galaxy Academy, like 1 month of club, maybe 2 months. And then like, I was lucky enough, fortunate enough, like thanks to God, like I ended up being on the Galaxy Academy at such a young age.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay. So now you're on you're there, and how long were you at the Galaxy for?
I was at the Galaxy Academy for 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Wow.
And I mean, do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah.
So like my first year, weird thing is we're training at Concordia. That's where I went. So that's like funny to think about. But first year I'm there, practices are at Concordia, and one of them on Wednesdays was at the StubHub Center, the Home Depot Center at the time.
Okay.
And so we would train outside the stadium on the fields for the Galaxy.
Right.
We would train on the David Beckham field. That's what they called it, whatever.
Yeah.
It was like next to the cycling thing. But the craziest thing happened in my first year.
What?
I went to practice on my birthday. It was August 7th, and we went up to LA. And that same day, my coach Braden, at the time, he pulled me aside, and he told me like, basically that I was gonna get cut if I didn't like start to improve. So the Galaxy at the time had a North and South team, and I was on the South team. And so we would come up and train with the North team on Wednesdays. They would separate us, but you can just tell there was just ballers there. Like a lot of them had like good, like they had a future for sure. Yeah. And so I was there. I always felt like kind of like lower than everyone, just because like I didn't feel like I had enough experience. I didn't feel like, I didn't feel like I was better than these guys. Like I always felt like I was not. I always felt like they were better than me. Yeah. And come my birthday, he pulls me aside, tells me I'm gonna get cut if I don't pick it up. Basically, in other words, that's what he was saying.
That was your first year.
That was my first year, and he said that on my birthday. And I remember like the drive back home, like that's all I can think about. Like,
did you know at the time like how big of a deal it was to be like on the Galaxy Academy?
I think as I started training with them and like I started learning, I started like getting free tickets to the Galaxy games. I started getting geared up. Yeah. I started to see who we were representing. Yeah. I started to see like the atmosphere of the professional level because we would train outside the stadium. And so when we would train, they would have games like sometimes at 7, so we would go watch them. And so they would always tell us like, this is like the Galaxy Academy. Like this is like where you need to be to get to that next level. And so that's kind of like when it hit me. I think it never really hit me until I was told I was going to get cut. Wow. And that was like the craziest feeling because I was only 12 years old and like I don't really know much. I just knew like I wanted to be on this team. Yeah. And like knowing that, like deep inside knowing that I didn't feel like I was maybe as good as these players, and then hearing that I was going to get cut was like really, like it did affect me, but it only, I think, made me a lot better. Yeah. Because I ended up staying for 2 more years. So I think just it was kind of like a heads up in a way, and then I ended up staying.
Okay, so then after that talk, then you start training more, or you just kind of like were more focused at practice, or what?
Dude, my life just revolved around the Galaxy Academy. Yeah. Like I would, like you said, like we'll get into this, but like I lived under a rock. Yeah, like 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade year, like we were in middle school. Yeah. I would hang out with you guys at school, but
never saw you after.
Right after, like I would get picked up. Yeah. 3:45, I would get picked up because we finished at 3:35. Mm-hmm. Get to the field by like 4:30. Train for 2 hours. Get dropped off at my grandma's hospital where she would clean like this pet hospital at night. Around 10 o'clock, we would take the bus back home. Yeah. And that was 4 times a week for 2 years straight. And I was like so committed to like becoming this like professional player, and like I knew and I recognized the position I was in at the time. Yeah. And like, sure, I was young, but like I knew how important this was to stay. And as you know, like with as many of us probably, you know, faced the challenges of rights, family, you know, I think a huge thing that I noticed, you know, getting towards the end of my Galaxy, whatever career, was that the ride situation, the support system was kind of getting lower. And it's not being personal towards my family. It just was like, it was getting hard. Yeah. Because like someone needed to be there to pick me up from school. Someone needed to take me to practice. So like, it was hard to find that like person that can do all that stuff. And a lot of times I needed to call my step-grandpa to, you know, drop me off some food because I was going to be out of school at 3:35 and then get home until 10. You know, so obviously they want to feed me or whatnot. So I like respect my family for like always supporting me, but it did get hard. And at one point, I remember, I won't say who, but like they were basically telling me to just stop. Like stop putting this pressure on them.
That's the thing though, is that like you don't, similar, I don't come from a soccer family. And I don't think your family's a soccer family necessarily. Like it wasn't like you have like
an older brother that's played.
Right, exactly. It was just like, so the thing with that is that there's no, your parents or the people around you don't know any better. They don't know how big of a deal certain things are. Like for me, like I was put into my first team because my brother-in-law now, my sister's boyfriend at the time, he was the one who's like, we should put him on a team. I'll pay for it. Right. And he's the one that like, you know, that really pushed that idea of me joining a team and stuff like that. And my parents were just like, yeah, whatever. The idea of me joining club, my parents were like, I'm not going to pay that money. I'm not going to pay all that. Luckily, I was able to get a scholarship and, you know, and play. So I can see if I was in that similar situation where, let's just say I think if my brother-in-law, in my situation, I think my brother-in-law probably would have like actually like been the person to help me, if he could have or whatever. But like, I think my parents would have done the same thing and been like, dude, we can't do this. Like, you can't, like, because they just don't understand how big of a deal this actually is and stuff. So it's like, you can't really blame them for it. It's just, that's not the world they grew up in.
And at the time, like, you know, I remember that day when that happened and like going to practice, like that's all I can think about. And, you know, looking back at it now, obviously, like you're saying, they don't know any better. Right. And like, but sometimes I do wish that I had somebody that knew better. Right. Because I feel like, you know, different things can happen.
You never know what could happen. Yeah.
You never know.
But were you ever transparent with your coaching, like with the coaching staff? Were you ever like, look, this is my situation at home?
Or... I think I wasn't transparent until I got to Newport Mesa.
Oh, really?
So after the Galaxy Academy.
So they had, in their minds, they have no idea. They had no idea about what you're doing.
My coach Braden did for the first 2 years. He did. But then eventually with like Galaxy, they had a lot of coaches. You know, at one point I was coached by Mauricio Cienfuegos. You know, like he was like a legend at Galaxy. So he was training us like every day out there, out in LA. And then it changed to somebody else, you know, and then some guy named Teddy, like, and then he was at Pat's, you know, like so many like so many coaches that in and out. But the one that stayed the most was Braden for the first 2 years, and he had like an idea of what was going on. But then after he left, that's when no one really knew except, you know, my friend Danny and his dad that would take me to practice every day.
Okay. So then leading up to your last year at Galaxy, what happened?
That was like, honestly, one of like, I mean, I'm young. I wouldn't say like that was like the hardest day of my life, but
well, yeah.
But it's crazy how vividly I remember coming to like the ending of the Galaxy, and I saw it coming as soon as Chivas USA Academy transitioned to the Galaxy Academy. Throughout those 3 years, I had played with a lot of players. Evan Cervantes now that plays for OCSC, got a contract for Rangers. He was our keeper. Cameron Harper that plays for New York Red Bulls now. You know, like all these guys, like when I was training with them, like I was like, damn, like they're gonna be pro.
Yeah.
Like I already know. And like one guy, Cameron Harper, I'm sure you've known him.
Yeah.
Like I always thought he was gonna be pro. Like even as a kid, I was like, dude, this guy's gonna make it. And like I always, in a way, looked up to him. And it's funny because he was like in our district, and when we played Pilot Cup 6th grade, we played against him in the final. But what was your question again?
What was the lead up to?
What was the lead up to it? Yeah, like I said, the transition to Chivas USA to the Galaxy, there was a lot of players that had left within those 3 years.
Yeah.
And so when Chivas USA came, they had a lot of talented players out of LA. You know, Efrain Alvarez that plays for Galaxy now, and like some other of his homies that went to Europe. Around that time, the whole organization transitioned to Galaxy and basically started just removing players that had been in the academy for a while. And I was like one of the last ones there.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing for me was Danny, the guy that used to take me. He was a year younger than me, so I was always like, I was always a little older than him, obviously. But where we were placed, he was placed somewhere else when I left. So we were on the same team up until I left, because that's when Chivas USA came and, like I said, removing players and stuff. And I think it was like a Tuesday, and we got a new coach from Chivas USA, and he was handing out uniforms and backpacks and gear. And I was like, dude, this is so cool. Like, I'm training with these guys. And, like, keep in mind, I'm thinking everyone's so good. Like, all these guys are talented, crazy talented. And I'm like, how am I, like, this is crazy. This is so cool. Like, I'm living the dream of, like, going to train every single day. Calls us together, calling out names, and then I'm standing there, and he still hasn't gotten to me. And he says the last name to some kid, and he grabs his uniform, his gear. And I just stood there, like, waiting for really anything to happen. Nothing was said to me. And, like, there was two coaches, and, like, they just kind of, like, stood there. And I don't know what I said, if I said anything, but I just, like, turned around, like, awkwardly, and I was like, okay, so I just trained today. And I trained, and I had, like, a bad feeling about it. And sure enough, like, the next day, like, I went to go get a haircut. I'm running back home from 19th Street because I had to get a ride. I had to get the bus to practice. Or no, not get the bus to practice, but get the bus to my friend's house to go to practice. I'm like running home and stuff, and I'm in the shower, and my aunt like calls me and says to listen to this voicemail. I listened to it, and it was basically the dad of my friend, Danny's dad, basically telling me that, you know, they're gonna remove me from the academy and like basically cutting me. And like I remember like just really taking that in and like just feeling like so devastated. Like it was probably like one of like the worst moments in my life, just because I knew what was leaving, you know, what was being removed from my life. And like at that time, I was all in, you know, like I was all into learning, to like, I knew I wasn't the best player, but I knew that I've been here for 3 years, so there's something in me, right? I have something to show, I have something to prove, and I'm not done. You know, going into freshman year, into high school, they have a program for you, and they can go to school and then train. And like, being a kid on YouTube, you know, you see all these Nike Academy, you know, you see a Crystal Palace Academies, and they do the schooling, and then they do soccer. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like one more year, I'm gonna be there. And when I heard the voicemail, it was like honestly like super hard for me. And like I remember crying in the bathroom, and like when I was showering, I was just so devastated, dude.
But like my thing is, and it like, I mean, it's just the reality of it. But the fact that everything was going through you, meaning there was no, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no real conversation with your aunt or grandma about your situation, your place on the team, nothing like that. They didn't go directly to your family. It was like all the news, everything was put on this 12-year-old kid. 12,
and like
13?
yeah,
Oh,
12, 13,
like
whatever
it's
I
like,
was.
dude, like to me, it's like, how does that make sense? Like if like that the coach telling you like you need to improve or else you're gonna get cut, is like, okay,
Like,
fair, you can
thank
say
you.
that,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
but like also, you don't think it would be a good idea to like mention it to like to the person who's taking care of you, like
And
you know, like I don't know, like to me, is
at
that
the same time, I understand. I didn't
Yeah.
have parents to stand up for me, you
Right.
know, or talk or do anything
Right.
like how my friends' parents were there every day, every
Right.
practice they were there. They talked to the coaches. So really, like any information that they were wanting to tell me or my family, it would go through my friend's dad first, and then he would let my family know. And so that's kind of like how they received the message was through him all the time.
But then I just like, because me being a coach now and having to deal with like kids that age, I deal with kids who are 12 years old, just turned 12 and stuff. I can't imagine, like, granted, it's not that level, it's not academy level, but if there's me telling these kids information and them actually being able to like fully grasp it and understand the importance of the information, like it doesn't make sense. I can't expect to say like this kid you need to improve or else you're gonna get cut, for him to actually go home and make some like changes in his life, you know?
He's young.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Like you can't expect that from a kid. So like, you know, for me it just kind of feels like a lack of like care from the. And I've heard some stuff, and I'm not gonna go real deep into it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
because like, but I've heard like how at least back then how it was poorly ran in terms of, and that's probably why there's so many different coaches, because it was like it wasn't as professional as you would think, and that's an example of why I think it's like it lacks that professionalism. Is like you would, if a professional, I think, yeah, you could speak to the kid, but then also, okay, sure, your parents aren't there all the time, but it's like, okay, let me get in contact with them. Let me understand, especially if the coach has an idea of what you're dealing with. Like, let me get your aunt's phone number and let me contact them directly rather than going through a third party. You know what I mean? So that to me is like a little like, it's irritating.
Right.
But
and at the end of
it's
the
crazy.
day, bro, like, I mean, I'm proud to say I played for the Galaxy Academy, and my years there, like, I learned so much, right? And I saw so much talent, and it was just put me into perspective, like, that's what I need to do to get to the next level. And, you know, being in that position, I was grateful for, you know, I'm always going to be grateful for that opportunity because, like I said, I've learned a lot. And during those 3 years, like, they were hard, definitely. You know, like, I didn't do anything but just train and play and whatever. But, yeah, I think those were, like, 3 years in my life that I think are very important to me.
For sure,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, everything happens for reasons. So
Right.
I like, so, yeah, okay. So then, how long after that voicemail that you heard do you contact me?
The next day.
The next day.
The next day.
Yeah.
And then the following day, I'm out there at training with you.
Yeah, that's sick. Okay, so then that quickly you're just like, okay, and that's sick, and it says a lot about you, where you're like, you get this like devastating news.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, okay, I need to move on.
And, you know, moving on, I think the transition to Newport Mesa with you and, like, I don't know who else was there. Chapin, you know, like, obviously I got to know Chapin, but, like, knowing that I was going to be in an environment with, like, friends finally.
Yeah.
You know, an environment where I can, like, go and, like, have fun with my friends. Like, it wasn't, like, somebody new players that I didn't know who they were, you know, like, I knew what I was getting myself into. But, yeah, I think as soon as I heard that, I was like, what's next? You know, like, you know, I want to keep playing. You know, I'm not going to stop playing. And I knew I had this title of, like, the Galaxy Academy, but I got cut, you know, so it's kind of like, But I knew I could contact you because I knew you were playing for Newport Mesa. So, yeah, the following day I called you, and then you were like, let me do my thing.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
So then we played for
like
Newport Mesa, and then it turned just into Slammers.
Yeah.
But then from there, yeah, you stayed the entire time up until we're 17, 18.
It's up until senior year.
Yeah,
That's
senior
like
year.
When
Right. What do you remember most from Slammers? Like, what are some experiences you really like
Dude,
value?
I think the team in general. I think I valued that team so much,
Yeah.
and like I think we were both young, on the younger
Yeah,
side.
yeah, yeah. We're a year
Maybe I
younger.
was younger than you for sure, but
Yeah.
I was always on the younger side, and we were always kind of playing a year up. But that team, like the coach Jerry,
Yeah.
I think he did a very good job of making that team like family.
Yeah.
And like making us all feel comfortable. And I
Mhm.
think that showed on the field, and that transition to us
Right.
making it to the final of National Cup.
Yeah.
Stuff like that where you don't really see that on the Slammers men's side.
Right.
At the time, it was only the girls. And so us doing that, it was like, oh, you're the Slammers team.
Right.
And so it felt good to be a part of something. It felt good to be a part of a group of guys that were also as talented as like top teams that were already, like West Coast, our rivals that were always like playing like at a high level. I think just all of us collectively as a group, I think we had a very good 2-3 years together. It was probably one of probably the funnest, I don't know if that's a word, but best years of our lives.
Yeah.
Considering like club level, I guess.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed my club career. I think it was super enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, like the group was amazing. I think what made it what we found in that group or on that team is probably what we were maybe you lacked a little bit at Galaxy was that support system. Because although you had your friend and his dad who were giving you rides and stuff, here, well, it's obviously a lot easier too because it was closer and stuff. But we had Sika, who was like a second mom to us. She like this dude. She was amazing. She drove us everywhere. And she made sure that we were at practices. She made sure we were at every game. She made sure that we were fed. She made sure that if there's a tournament where that required us to stay at a hotel, she had that hotel booked for us. She had food for us, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
And she still does that.
And still does that to this day.
Still takes care of us like that. It's crazy.
Dude, she's like, I'm like forever indebted to her.
And that's like one of the biggest things like that I've been fortunate enough to receive is like so many support systems from like family to like Sika to like coaches to like my aunt, like dude, she literally like was like my mother growing up, and like I love her so much. And like my grandma, she never worked, she never stopped working. She was always working. And like fortunately I was in like good enough to like not pay, get scholarships and play for these teams and stuff like that. I don't think I ever paid, but what I'm trying to get at is like the support systems that I received, even though I didn't have like my parents here or whatever. Like I still felt like I have my mom and dad at home because of how like grateful I felt towards them. For giving me the opportunity to really stay and like play, and it showed. Like I want to play, and then I played. Like now I'm at the Galaxy Academy.
To give a little bit of perspective on what Sika did, it wasn't just for you. It wasn't just for me. It was for like 6 of us.
Yeah.
It was for like 6 kids who were all in similar situations where we kind of like our parents can't help us very much. We can't afford this and all that stuff.
It's crazy.
And she made sure to everybody was set.
We were drinking Starbucks on the way to games.
Dude,
that's how
she had us
had it.
Bougie.
Dude,
we were bougie. She was amazing. And then Jerry was a great coach. I think he taught us a lot. Although he's not.
Dude, we should have him here on the podcast.
Yeah, that's why I spoke to him. He said he would.
Okay, cool.
So we will. We'll definitely speak with him. But just because we have to wrap up a little bit, let's fast forward just a little bit. Finishing up Slammers. That's where you finished up your high school career. And then how did you get to Concordia?
Senior year, I transitioned to West Coast, basically OC Serve, and so that team was very highly ranked, and I was able to play National League with them. Do the whole North Carolina, Vegas, Idaho thing. Traveling and stuff. And then from there, it's when I got recruited by Concordia, and then I think Chris Gold came out to one of my games, and I think I got fouled, and like I got a free kick and I scored it, just banged it in. And after that, I just saw him walk away. And then a couple weeks later, like the coach at West Coast or OC Surf at the time was like, "You have an opportunity to play for Concordia." And so this is like before going to National League. I'm knowing this, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was good. National League went well. You know, it was a cool experience, definitely. But from there, that's when I transitioned into Concordia. And then I was still 17 when I graduated.
Yeah.
So, like, I had to get my grandma to sign. And it was a big deal for me. I don't know if they understood how big of a deal it was. My family is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But, I mean, first gen,
Yeah.
I went to school. And then, I'm pretty much finishing up my 4 years there now. And
so
I haven't had the best career just because, like, we can get into the next podcast or whenever I'm on again. But we can talk about the college life and, like, my first year being hurt, you know, stuff like that.
Right. Well, okay. How would you sum up your college career at Concordia?
I think it was, I've learned a lot from being a freshman and sophomore at Concordia to, like, finally graduating and, like, looking back at it. I think I've grown so much.
Yeah.
And, like, putting everything into perspective, like, I'm at a place in my life where I feel the most, like, in tune with myself.
Right.
And, like, I'm glad I got cut. I'm glad I went to Slammers. I'm glad whatever route I have taken so far, it's all for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think I'm still progressing. I'm still playing. I'm part of Zeta. Hopefully, you know, everything goes well and I get signed and I join NISA next year. You know, I still have the itch for soccer, but I won't say that I didn't have it, you know, a couple years back.
Yeah. So it's like, I kind of remember having a conversation earlier, and I forget if we're like sophomores or something, where you're just like, I don't care.
Yeah, and
play
then,
after.
Yeah, just
but
hard stuff,
yeah.
hardships, family stuff, and you know, life goes on, and that's kind of like the attitude I had, and I kind of sticked with it. You know, I stuck with it, and sure, it wasn't like I didn't have that feeling that I had maybe at Slammers when I was a junior or a sophomore or whatever. But, you know, now, like, I'm still young, I'm healthy, you know, like, I still feel like I can play at the next level.
Right.
And
so
who
now
knows?
I think you're in the right route to do that.
Yeah.
But just to like talk about your college career a little bit, I think you took like it was like from what I saw, it was a very typical college type of situation where you year by year your importance for the team improves, like, or it increases.
Yeah.
So like freshman year, like it's either like you're a freshman, you're just the coaches are gonna rely a lot more on the seniors or the juniors, and then you dealt with injuries, with ankle injury, I believe, right?
It was I fractured my 5th metatarsal bone on my left foot, which is like the pinky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then and as you progress, and then up until your senior year, where I see that you're like, or junior year, senior year, right? Senior year. Yeah, COVID makes it weird, but like, I see that you're like, clearly the coach is like, probably number one important player for the team. You know, and it's like, you did like that's just kind of like typical, like for college.
I wouldn't say I like had that full college experience though. Freshman year got hurt, sophomore year COVID.
Yeah.
Junior year was like my first time playing these schools. Senior year I fractured my elbow. I miss out on all the D1 game opportunities. So like, you know, I ended my Concordia career with like a slight, you know, like with the back of my head, like I knew I could have done so much more, but you know, now I'm just kind of taking it a step at a time and seeing what's happening.
It
sucks.
That's just the game, dude. Unfortunately, injuries are part of it, and it's just. But we have, I mean, similar in the sense where my freshman year I was injured, second year COVID,
literally.
and then third year, would be. Was it? Yeah, last year was third year. Yeah. So it's so then you made the decision that you're not gonna, because you have one more year eligibility.
I got
2 more years.
I got 3 technically, because isn't it 5 years of eligibility?
4.
4?
Well, 5 considering that. No, 4, but you get a year because of COVID.
Okay, so I have 2.
Yeah, 2 years of
2
eligibility.
years of eligibility.
So you made a decision not to do that
So far, yeah, that's kind of like my conclusion. You know, I mean, if there's any D1 coaches out there looking for a spot, you know, let me know. But I think for now, I think just focusing on like work. I do like stuff on the side, and then now with this whole Zeta thing, you know, UPSL talk and NISA talk, you know, I'm trying to get into the triangle.
Right.
You know.
So just so the people understand, you're playing right now. We're currently playing for Zeta FC, which is a new team, a Chinese-funded team here in Irvine. They play in the UPSL, which is like amateur league, semi-pro. I don't know what you want to call it.
Fourth tier.
Yeah,
whatever.
The fourth tier in the U.S. And they are going NISA, which is third tier in the U.S., which is considered pro. They're going into NISA next season, so starting 2024. We're currently on the team. It seems I don't know if the coaching staff's going to stay the same. What's going to happen to the team? There might be a lot of changes. I know they're definitely planning on bringing a lot of players out to try out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think you have shown them that you are at that level. You are one of the better players to have. Who like everyone who keeps coming out to tryouts or trainings and stuff. You've shown that you are the better, like one of the better players.
Appreciate that.
So I think you are in a very good spot, and especially since I think you've developed a good connection with the owner and the staff.
Right.
I think you're in a very good spot to be playing pro next year, which hopefully, if all goes well, it happens.
Yeah.
But like you said, to kind of take a step at a time. Don't think too far into the future. Kind of think of like you know, one game at a time type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I feel like we kind of like had to like cut it a little bit short or like rush into it, but we'll for sure have you on again. And I think the idea for this podcast is to have everybody on at the same time and we'll dive into everyone's stories a little deeper.
That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. But okay, you have any like last thing to say, like any words of advice for I mean, you can speak on the perspective of somebody who's been cut from a team, somebody whose career hasn't gone exactly how they wanted to go, or anybody who's having like how you had in sophomore, junior year, doubts about whether or not you still want to play. Any advice to those younger players right now?
I think one piece of advice that I would say would be the way you think you should be playing when you're not on the field is the same way you should be playing when you're on the field. So a lot of times when we play, I go back home and I'm on YouTube. Or before the game, I'm like trying to think, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Or I'm visualizing myself vividly, like in the game, doing these skills, doing these passes and stuff. And then when you get to the field, it kind of like all goes away.
Right.
So I feel like really focusing on the part where you're telling yourself, this is how I should be playing, bring that energy to the field and play that way. Because I think a lot of times people just lack that confidence. And if you feel like you're able to play some type of way when you're not on the field, that's the same kind of energy you should bring on the field. And I think after that, once you start getting that down, I think your soccer is just going to start elevating.
What's your Instagram?
MiguelPena.aa.
Yeah. And then follow us on our Instagram, without a doubt, _athletics. We'll definitely have Miguel on again, so we can discuss, maybe go into further detail about his club career, go further detail about his college career, and then, I mean, who knows? Maybe next year will be him playing professionally. So, all right.